Very good evening, friends. Meeting again in the session of Robert's philosophy. Yesterday, I have taken one lecture, but unfortunately, it was not recorded. And that's why today I will going to start with that and then we'll go ahead. In earlier lecture, we have discussed about the original therapeutics in the field of endocrinology. The actual part which he has started by discussing certain endocrinal disorders. He has started with diabetes and the therapeutics for diabetes. He explained over there that if you open the repertory and see the rubric in the urine chapter sugar, then you will find many constitutional remedies. And all those constitutional remedies ultimately reflects or depends upon the individuality, and that will be the remedy for the patient. There is no specific approach giving a insulin to the patient. It is ultimately individualistic treatment which is needed, and we have to take into consideration the totality. We have to take into consideration the constitution. We have to take into consideration the miasm, and accordingly we have to come to the right remedy. So this is what we have learned. First condition he has explained about the diabetes, where many remedies, phosphoric acid is there, then Syzygium jambolinum is there, Cephalosporin indica is there, then even lactic acid is there. Many more remedies are. Acetic acid is good for that. Uranium nitricum, diabetes and its complication is there. Many remedies are there in the treatment, but ultimately the approach is individualistic. The second endocrinal disorder, which we have discussed, which is related with the pancreas, that is the peptic ulcer. And he explained over there, if you open the peptic ulcer, you're going to find it out the domination of Kali group, the Kali bichromicum, Kali arsenicosum, Kali carbonicum, many remedies which are related with this peptic ulcer. Even the ornithogallum, which is very important remedy for peptic ulcer, then the cholesterinum is a good remedy for the peptic ulcers. Kali bichromicum, already we have discussed about it. So there are many more remedies with which individualistic approach we can reach to the right remedy. The third condition, the menopause, and which is most common and dominating remedy is lachesis, but it's not only the remedy. We have Sanguinary canadensis, we have sepia, we have amyl nitrate, we have many more remedies in the treatment of menopausal syndrome. Again, things depends upon the individualistic approach. And last condition, which we have discussed on that day, is related with the hyperemesis gravidum. Hyperemesis gravidum is nothing but the morning sickness. The remedies which are mentioned over there, Robert has added all four nosodes, the soranum, the medorinum, the cipilinum, the tuberculinum, and I have added many more. One of them is Symboricarpus racemosa, the second is Naxomica, the third is Ipecac. And there are many remedies mentioned by Dr. Alan D. Sutherland. And there is arsenic, bryonia, cocculus, colchicum, calica, many remedies he has mentioned about that. Up to that level we have discussed, and then yesterday we have started with the page number 249, paragraph number 2, the one of the most distressing conditions we have deal with, and one we unfortunately rarely meet, is enlarged thymus. In his discussion on this condition, Werner states that his conviction that it is not the enlargement of the gland itself which causes the sudden death, but that this condition is concomitant to the influence of the vagus nerve in the heart. This indicates even more strongly the necessity for constitutional remedy for the small child, and the physician must be keen in watching his development. For all too often, the child is apparently good health until attacked suddenly and without warning, where cyanosis, suffocative attacks, and or other symptoms occurs, however slight, a remedy will be found that will carry the child through a normal health. If the symptoms take asthmatic tendency, we have more assurance in selecting constitutional remedy. So what he explains over there? He explains over there that enlarged thymus is one of the again endocrinal problem, and it causes many times a death. But this death is not directly because of enlargement of thymus. It is because of the nerve, vagus nerve, which supplies the heart, which gets at fault, and because of which sudden death can occur. Most common symptom which one understands or which one observes is generally a breathlessness, the asthmatic condition. If we treat this without taking into consideration the thymus gland, but on the totality of the symptoms and the constitution, we can reach to the right remedy and we can treat that child, and that child have a life throughout a normal, healthy life. So we can treat thymus enlargement with the help of homeopathy without any surgical intervention or without any trouble to the patient. In the general practice, we frequently meet children who are backward in mind and body. This is very common. We get many people, many patients. Dwarfism is the rubric given in generality. Here is a field where we are able to do remarkably good work for our remedies. The barium salts are not sufficiently appreciated for such work, but the calcarea group, silica, sulfur to mention, but a few may be more clearly indicated. Even the kalis and natrums are surprisingly successful when indicated. When the constitutional remedies form, it is surprising how the children, underdeveloped, dull, stupid, unable to learn, perhaps nervous and high strung, react to the normal development. Yesterday I have mentioned that Barata cup is a wonderful remedy. I have explained about the child. She had a typical dwarfishness. She was very, very shy. Even throughout the consultation, she was looking down. Not even once she looked upwards. Her father tried to make her head straight, but even at that time, she has kept both the hands on her face, and she was refusing to see or to look after. Very important thing, this girl, after the treatment of 1 year, she started wishing each and everyone, greeting each and everyone in the clinic when she enters and when she leaves. This is wonderful recovery happened under the Barata curve in LM potency, right from LM11 onwards, and I have repeated for longer time of duration. Another case which I have discussed yesterday, that was a case from camp, and that was the epilepsy associated with dwarfism. And this is the characteristic of a Buforana. And I have explained before Anna over there, before was given to her, and she was on 4 anticonvulsant without having any result. And she was so dwarfed that she was not able to walk properly. She was not able to understand that there is a door or not. She used to fall directly on the walls. But after homeopathic treatment with Bufo, again with the LM potency in repeated doses, she recovered so nicely that her epilepsy recovered totally, along with a good development in her. So see, these are the very important things, how we can go ahead with such types of remedies. Further, he said, often the children are deceitful as well as backward. Then we add argentum nitricum perhaps before to our list, and if they are convulsive children, these remedies may even be more strongly indicated. Already I have explained about Vivo. One more remedy he has added is argentum nitricum. The third one, yesterday I have explained that deceitful and underdeveloped child, they are most commonly abrotanum children who are with which you can approach in certain underdeveloped children. A consideration of mental and emotional states is our best indication for the similitude. This is not as simple as to feed glandular preparations. Perhaps it is less apt to throw other glandular secretions out of proportion, and the result seems to be generally better. And no man who has watched the action of our potencies can doubt their efficacy. When we treat homeopathically such types of disorders, we used to find it out very good results, and there is no supplement like if there is a case of hypothyroidism and we are giving thyroidinum, this is wrong. We don't give remedy like this. Whatever may be the problem, our approach is one and same to find it out a totality, to find it out the constitution, to take into consideration the miasm, and then we treat. And this approach is the wonderful approach in treating such cases. So whenever we deal with endocrinal disorders, approach never changes. And this last paragraph, which we have discussed yesterday, is very important. To a large extent, the remedies which come to mind as constitutional remedies of sufficient depth to influence these glandular conditions with their structural and nervous concomitants are our great polycrest, and many of these are from same clean chemical base as the elements of physical body: the sulfur, the silica, the phosphorus, the kalis, the natrums, and carbon. Then we find such remedies as lycopodium and nitric acid and the major nodes of great use in these conditions. So generally, when we treat such types of endocrine disorders, we used to find it out all those very common remedy. You get all those elements which takes part in the constitution of the human being: the phosphorus, the sulfur, the kalis, the carbons, all those things which takes in the part in the construction of the human being always works over there. Then he has explained about lycopodium and nitric acid also. It is impossible as well as dangerous practice to name leading remedies for any pathological condition and still more for any functional disturbance. Yet, there are valuable remedies which have wide range and frequent usage in our daily practice that are not so valuable in this condition. So, there are many remedies are there in our homeopathic mater medica to tackle endocrine disorders. We cannot make a fixed group of remedies. There are many more. Few of them are discussed by him henceforth. So he has not discussed each and every remedy. Few of them which are common and which are even he has started with one remedy pulsatile, and he says that this is not the remedy which will come into focus when endocrinal disorders we are treating. So both things he has highlighted over there. Here after he starts explaining about the remedies. I think we have stopped on this point yesterday. Let us go ahead. In running over the suitable rubrics of glandular conditions, we find pulsatilla conspicuous by its absence in many rubrics, and when it occurs, it is the lower rating. On the other hand, we find lycopodium is the leader. Lycopodium is one of the very few survivors from the first era of the plant life, and it has changed very little in appearance. It has survived because the basic qualities inherent in the development of all life, and probably therefore has a greater potential influence on the organic function. So the first, if you find it out, the remedies for the glandular affections or endocrinal problems, and if we make a certain list, these are the common symptoms of such and such syndrome, and we find it out remedy, you'll find that pulsatilla is missing many times. It is not remedy which will come as a first remedy, but lycopodium definitely leads, and lycopodium is the deepest polycrest in our materia medica. Even though it is considered to be antisoric, the psychotic as well as syphilitic dominance is again much more in lycopodium. And that's why it's a very deep acting polycrest. If you open the Alensky notes and the relationship part, there he has made one statement. It is always better to start the treatment with another antisoric and then you start with continue with the lycopodium if you are sure about the lycopodium. Because lycopodium is so depicting remedy that it can produce its effects and it remains permanent for longer time of duration. So if you are not sure about lycopodium, it is always better to start with another antisoric. This is the sentence which he has made over there. And this, why he has made that sentence? Because that remedy, the lycopodium plant, is a survivor plant. During the evolution process, this persists for longer time of duration, and that's why this lycopodium works. So first remedy he has mentioned is the lycopodium. Pulsatilla he has mentioned, but he has not said for the endocrinal disorder. Then he turns towards the sulfur, the third remedy. There is hardly an organ or function that is not influenced by the greatest of all polycrests, sulfur. Even Herring noted its influence on such glandular conditions as were then recognized. We have spoken of its value in developing backward children. It is classical for its use in deep-seated affections resulting from suppression of superficial symptoms. It has proven its usefulness in diabetes mellitus. We all know the classical indications for sulfur. But in passing it briefly, we mention one function of sulfur we may have occasion to evoke, that of stirring the organism to reactions where when other seemingly indicated remedies fail to act, especially if there are recurrences of the acute or subacute manifestation, where the patient moved towards recovery only to slip back repeatedly. So, third remedy which he mentions is sulfur. And as we know, sulfur is the very deep acting polygrest, a king of antisori. Sulfur has multiple facets. You find it out, you take out any rubric from the repertory and you find it out. N number of times you're going to get the sulfur over there. So, sulfur is as good as the soric miasm, and that's why it is called as a hydra headache. So it has all symptoms. You have ample symptoms from endocrinal problems and which are covered under the sulfur. So it is useful for the unnatural development over there. The many times patient comes to you and patient explains, doctor, what has happened with my life? I don't know. Since last 6 months, I am day by day, getting more and more weak. If patient is explaining this, you have, if you have your repertories with you, open the repertory and you'll find one symptom over there, one rubric is there, delusion thin he is getting. And under that rubric, you're going to get only single remedy sulfur. Delusion thin he is getting. See, these are very important things which you have to take into consideration. This is patient's feeling. Whether he is really getting thin or not, it doesn't matter. But what patient feels is matters. And this is very important thing which he explains over there, that sulfur has such types of multiple facets. In mentally backward children, the rubric which I have mentioned is dwarfism. In Kent's repertory, it is given in physical genres, but generally this is given in mentals in other repertories, complete or synthesis, and you're going to get a sulfur again over there. Sulfur has that tendency. Sulfur has a capacity to push forward the things which are blocked. And that's why sulfur helps in such condition. Even when the patient is weak and not developing properly, when well indicated remedy you have provided and it is not working, one must give a sulfur as an intercurrent, and sulfur plays a very vital role in such types of cases. Any acute disorder, when you treat any acute disorder, whether it's a communicable disease, non-communicable disease, whether it is subacute disease, after that, if there is a recurrence again and again, sulfur is a good intercurrent. And why it is necessary? My study of sulfur in relation to the pathology indicates that there are two important sequelae of acute inflammation. One is resolution and another is chronic inflammation. The resolution is stimulated because of sulfur, and because of resolution, the further recurrence stops. And this is my understanding of sulfur when you apply sulfur on the basis of pathological consideration. You can correlate the homeopathy, the dynamic aspects of homeopathy in relation with pathology, in relation with physiology, in relation with the medicine. And then if you will find the correlation and show it to the people, what is the role of it, then definitely people accept it. I have done one experiment when I read this sentence when I was there in during internship period, and I was attached with one hospital with and also with the college internship. And I have done experiment at that time that in many acute disorders, whether they are treated allopathically or whether they are treated homeopathically, I used to give them a sulfur 30 dose just to find it out what it works, how it works. And I have, to my surprise, that after giving sulfur, the recurrence has stopped. Even after allopathic medicines have given, the sulfur made a wonderful change. So this is a very important polycrest which is useful in endocrinal disorders. And what patient presents is matters where you can think about sulfur. Patient comes with burning feet syndrome. He explains, doctor, I'm getting severe burning at night. I have to keep my feet outside the covering. This is one of the important indication, and these patients always tells, I have to put my feet in cold water in order to get relief from that. So these are very essential things which we have to take into consideration. There are characteristic features with which patient approaches. These sulfur patients, when comes to your OPD, they always talks in their own theories. They always talks, Doctor Mala asं वाटतं. What the doctor, I feel that is their own theory. They tries to explain to you one of the important thing of the sulfur. And second important thing about the sulfur is that they always takes the help of the philosophy, and that's why the philosophical approach always remains to be there with the sulfur. So they always talks like this, Doctor, this is not I am saying, but this has been written in Bhagavad Gita. They talks in that sense. They tries to impose, correlate it, and that's the philosophical approach. So theorizing with philosophical approach, with burning fit syndrome, very important remedy is sulfur, another is lachesis. So we have to think about remedies when we are dealing with endocrinal disorders. We don't have to just see endocrinal disorder and remedy, but we have to find it out the characteristic symptoms of it with which you can reach to the right remedy. So on this note, we'll stop today's session, and tomorrow we'll continue with the next remedy, that is the fourth remedy, the phosphorus onward. So there might be a little bit repetition in today's session, but it was missed yesterday to record, and that's why I have again started with the yesterday's topic. Tomorrow we'll continue with it. Thank you very much being there. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Have a good evening.
Thank you.